Dhaenens. You are from Guatemala and you work there for PAMI. Can you tell about the organization?
PAMI is an organization that had been working with originally with mothers and kids, basically in the way of helping mother and kids. But then everything changed when Guatemala ratifies the child's rights. So PAMI decided to work directly on the child rights. So it changed a little bit the philosophy, and now basically the idea of PAMI changed it again. So we are working more in the protagonism of youngsters and to create like social policies in the municipal governments to improve the life of the youngsters and kids.
So what kind of experience do you have on monitoring and evaluation?
For PAMI, it had been a long process to learn about monitoring and to be more and more specific on what should we look for it and what we should propose also to our partner organizations. In that way, for example, during the last years, PAMI decided to create more specific annual programs. So all the team of PAMI knows what are the goals for the year. So we know exactly where should we go and what activities we should achieve during the process. In the project with Taksvärkin, that is the Finnish organization, we got some indicators of the project really established it, but this we achieved it through 5 years of working with Taksvärkin and learning every year that we should be more specific on what we want to achieve, how we would like to achieve it, what we want to show, what are the activities that the youngsters can do, what are the activities that the adults can do, what are the activities that the kids can do. So if you establish more clearly, it's easier to achieve that activities. So it's a really long process to understand what the partner wants to, that we do in Guatemala, that the organization in Guatemala understands and then communicates to the people that works, and the people that works to communicate to the youngsters and kids.
So there are different organizations that support PAMI's work. What kind of differences are there in their cooperation practices?
There are really big differences between Finland and other, for example in PAMI we receive fundraising from Germany, we receive fundraising from Sweden, Denmark, United States sometimes, European Union, and each one of them have a completely different idea of what is a good indicator to achieve a goal in the project. Something that we really appreciate in this case working with Taksvärkin is that Taksvärkin it's really open-minded. So Taksvärkin let us to propose. They don't tell us too much what to do. They tell us they expect that we offer them what are the expectations as the country, and we make the changes from the country, and if they accept it in somehow, we can work together. But what it happens a lot of times with other organizations that they would like that you do what they expect to do.
Do you have some concrete examples on learning together with your partners?
I think it's good to help NGOs in the other countries to help them to develop their own policies of working. But what it happens sometimes NGOs, especially if they are really young NGOs, they need to learn how it's the best way of transmitting an idea or to be clear what they want to work for. For example, sometimes NGOs wants to take a lot of projects in different ways. For example, I take a project of food and then I take a project of health and I take a project of education, but sometimes NGOs cannot be expert in everything. So NGOs should be more clear what they want to do and the way they want to do it. So in that way it's easier to achieve a project more specific to the other organizations. So the indicators will be more specific and the chain will be more clear.
Now there is a lot of discussion on transparency and accountability of civil society organizations. What do you think that CSO accountability means?
It's really complicated to talk about the topic because we know that a lot of organizations have been doing bad things, and now we know that Latin America doesn't look really good outside because we know that some people fix their lives through these projects and their kind of stuff. But I think something that has been working is that, in the experience working with Taksvärkin, is that Taksvärkin pay an evaluation, economical evaluation, from one side, and PAMI pays their own. So when you cross the information, it's clear. If it's one, the same of the other one, or you can, if it's some confusions, you can solve it, then you have a better idea what's going on.
Now that you have been working here for Taksvärkin as Etvo volunteer, so is there something that you have seen or learned that you could take back to your work in PAMI?
I think something important that I learned here is that most of the time we don't understand clearly how it works, the fundraising here. So we don't know exactly the expectations or what the project offers sometimes here. For example, Taksvärkin works with this fundraising in schools. So this time it had been really clear for us to understand what they propose to youngsters that it will happen in Guatemala. So in that way we are more clear what we should do in Guatemala to fulfill the idea of the youngsters that had been working here in Finland for the project. From the other side, it's important to understand the cultural differences of what it's a transversal idea of. So I would like to know specifically what she expects on that, or what is the ministry thinking that the countries should achieve through these ideas. In that way, the evaluation of the project will be more clear for Finland, and also for us to achieve the expectations from both sides.